Hi, I'm Lori Brown, and as always, I start out with a huge thank you for those of you who support our work with your money. Every bit helps Ty, Joshua, and myself, and this happens through the Patreon platform. They make it easy for you to set up a small monthly donation. And our goal at Pondercast is to make stuff that supports you. And if you find it does, please consider supporting us. Go to patreon.com/Pondercast. Okay, let's Pondercast. I asked on Facebook for the big questions you have. You know, the kind of question that you have been pondering for a long time. The big, tough question that just keeps returning to haunt you. The one that won't go away. Oh, you gave me some buttes. And I'm going to think out loud about a few of them here. And I will tackle some more questions in upcoming episodes. So if you have a haunting, daunting question, email me at lori@pondercast.ca and tell me what's been taking up brain space for you. So is there a big question in your life? I'm betting it's a question that actually only you can answer. It's not something you can solve with a trip to Google. It involves a very different kind of search. This is an inside job, and it will only respond to your wisdom, to your own lived experience that tells you what you know to be true in your bones. Your beautiful question is the philosopher in you, slogging through thought, experience, and feeling, just to try to come to an answer on your own terms. We need a beautiful question to live with. One that will hold us in its thrall for our entire lifetime. Where do these big questions come from, and when do they appear? When it's quiet, when you are by yourself, when the chatter in your head stops to take a breath, and suddenly it feels like someone else has shown up. A quiet voice that doesn't get heard very often. Those big questions are the one that this little voice asks. And like pushing a boat away from the wharf, you are off into deeper waters. Here's one of your questions. Can I remove myself from the world without guilt? Will things get worse if I stop engaging? Thanks, Marcy. Oh yes, the desire to disappear into the woods has been very strong in me. To run away from the world, to retreat and build a peaceful life somewhere else, far away from this madding crowd. Well, let's go all the way. Let's imagine living life as a hermit. climbing a mountain, searching out a cave, and living life with your back against a rock wall, looking out over the world with terrible hair and fingernails. And all you can see are mountain peaks and sky straight ahead. The people are out of view far below you. Most hermits said that they removed themselves from life for our benefit. They were meditating for all of us up there. And for their lifelong efforts, they were called holy men and holy women. I've sought out some of those caves and sat in the same spots. So strong is my desire to disappear from the peopled world in Spain and Turkey and France, and asked myself, why does this appeal to me so much? What do I need that I'm not getting? The answers that I got were solitude, quiet, no distraction, a longing for peace. But is it world peace that I crave, or peace within myself? And how long do you think you'd have to sit on a mountain before that might happen? It might never happen. But removing ourselves from the world in any form feels like giving up, abandoning any hope of helping make change, giving up the fight. There is shame in that. And there may also be some privilege. There are millions of people who don't have the choice to be able to get up and restart their life in a completely different way in another place. I wonder also if it's a sign of age, if everyone wants to beat a retreat right around retirement. But is there a way that retreating might still be useful, helpful? What if, that's always a good way to start a great question, what if your escape becomes a desire to live the change you want to see in the world, to become part of the great turning, as environmentalist Joanna Macy says? Then it shifts from being an escape to being a challenge. That sounds better. Maybe you step away from the world you are in to find a better, sustainable way to live. If your move is filled with purpose, then you're not opting out, you are moving forward. But the impulse is to back away, to get smaller. That could be necessary for you to do your most important work, purpose work. Finding quiet and time to think about this next stage and building a new kind of life with purpose. That is not abandonment or turning away from the world. That is you stepping up to it. Another question. How can somebody meet somebody else during a pandemic? Thanks, Mark. Oh, man. When I think of the new people that I have met over the last 5 months, and I'm not looking for a romantic relationship, I mean just meeting anyone new, I think it's like one human, a tradesperson who came to fix something. I hear about cocktail Zoom parties. I hear about how Tinder is still going strong during the pandemic. Yikes. I think about all the subtle signals that we use when we first meet a prospective date and how they would get lost having to wear a face mask. I don't know. Dating now must be kind of like our great-grandparents' time. Introduction through family and friends, letters delivered back and forth, a walk home together, time stolen after a Sunday church service or community picnic, like a scene out of the musical Oklahoma. Couples finding ways to get together in spite of the world around them. That's kind of where we are, right? I have felt the urge to change the way I communicate during COVID. Instead of texting, I want to make a phone call. Instead of a phone call, I want to write a letter. It is a regression, just like everything else in the world. What's interesting about this new world is that perhaps it's a chance for us to communicate more fully, openly, authentically, with purpose. I mean, opportunities to be around people, any kind of people, are way fewer. Now that this time is precious, will you use it differently? How could you cut to the chase? This is a time for more transparency, and that will take courage. The other thing to consider, this is me backing out of trying to answer the question maybe, is that perhaps this isn't the time to meet someone. What if the best thing that you could do for yourself is to totally accept this shitty situation? This is what's happening. Because to be always searching for something you can't have means you end up nowhere. And that's not something that draws other people to you. I was single for a decade, until 4 years ago, and I had serious fun dating for a handful of those years, but I wasn't finding anyone who felt like they could be a partner. And the longer I was single, the more I realized that that is what I truly wanted, but I couldn't find them. And so I stopped dating. I accepted my life as it was, single, imagining myself as an elderly woman having to take care of myself, and I changed lots of things in my life to accommodate my solo life. And that's when it happens. When you accept the life you have for what it is, the good and the bad, when you learn to be kind to yourself, to take care of yourself, when you stop searching for something different and live the life you're in, you change. And people see you differently, and I believe are drawn to that settled or grounded quality that you have. And then a partner may show up. It's kind of magic and kind of not magic at all. Accept what's going on. A solo life in an isolating time. And then see what happens next. There are serious questions that some of you posed that will surface in another episode, but let's tackle the most confusing, strange question I got. And it also got a lot of likes. I take this one as a challenge. Here's the question. What is land and how do we use it? What? Thanks, Rory, I think. Land is the stuff where water isn't. This is very confusing to me, and maybe I'm not understanding the intent of the question at all, but here goes. What stands out for me in this question is the word use when it comes to land. That land should be used somehow. You can tell the question was asked by a human because we believe the earth has been put here for our use. We look at everything around us with an eye to exploitation. Ask not what you can do for the land, ask what the land can do for you. And that we have done, and just about used it up. Shut your human eyes and feel how the land beneath your feet supports you. How it cleans the oxygen you breathe and grows the food you eat. It couldn't be doing anything more useful than that. Land gives us everything, and yet we take more. We can own it, put fence posts on it, carve it up and believe that it's there for our own use, a commodity to be bought and sold, as if the earth is a giant monopoly board. But we are missing the main game. The land is everything. It's our operating system. We must stop seeing ourselves as end users. We need to be guardians instead. Maybe there are two kinds of people in the world, those who need to live in answers and those who can only live in questions. Those who live in answers may have taken on ready-made ideas for how they should govern their life, whether it's from a philosopher or from a religion. Are you willing to have an outsider take on the big question in your life? You can Google your question and probably find a ton of answers, and you may try on a few of them for size. I know I have. And the relief of living in an answer, just for a short while even, it felt great. But then the doubts collected, and the imported suit started to chafe. The fit just wasn't right, and my old question reappeared. What is my life's purpose? And I was back to my searching self again. Dang. This world may be too complex to have a life built on tried and true answers stitched together by those who have gone before. Maybe the life skill that will float our boat through these rough seas is an ability to not only live in our questions, but grow and thrive in them. Make your life question a bold one, because your question is your quest. And a word before we shut down this episode. If you don't have a big, mysterious life question that follows you everywhere, or if the questions in your life feel annoying and exasperating and unanswerable, maybe they're too big, you can try asking them to yourself differently. If it's, what's the meaning of life, that old chestnut? Try this instead. How might I find meaning in my life? Or, what if I found meaning in my life? What would that look like? What if? Why? How might I? Turn your question into a creative search. You can't think up the answer to your question. You have to live it in small exploratory steps. What might the first step be?